happy Monday. We are back from our first kind of like regular weekend, 2-day weekend, and now we have 4.5 days. We have a half day on Friday this upcoming week. Teachers have a full day. It's PD day, so we're going to do some PD around our HMH into reading curriculum, but students have a half day, and this is our first like Monday through Friday. So I thought I would definitely take you along and let you see, because this is our first week kind of diving into curriculum, so what we are up to in phonics and in writing and what our first couple review weeks look like. So I thought, I was just prepping math, so let me pull up the math slides and kind of share what we're doing. We are diving into the numbers 1 through 10. Most of my students should know this from last year, so it's a bit of a review unit. Obviously in kindergarten, they learned those numbers, but this is the time to kind of lay the foundation, talk about those numbers 1 through 10, count them both orally and then like one-to-one correspondence. So let's take a look at what we're gonna be doing. All right, so I actually have these slides. I made an entire kind of unit for numbers 1 through 10, and then my plan is to work on as many as I can this year and finish whatever I don't end up doing over the summer. But they are already in the club, so for numbers 1 through 10, our objective slide is just I can count sets of items. We have our little warm up here, so count the numbers, or count to find the numbers in the blanks. So they have to figure out, oh, we're counting up here, and how did we know this one? We're counting back. And then students are just going to get a 10 frame. I'm going to go ahead and put some on my 10 frame first, and they're gonna tell me how many they have. And we're just gonna practice this a couple times. And then we're gonna do this on the rug. So I'm gonna have students also like turn to a partner and do the same thing. Put some cubes on a 10 frame and have the partner tell how many they're there, and then also how they knew that. Then I'm gonna give students their 10 cubes in a cup, and their partner will kind of cover their eyes and hide some of them under the cup, and then they have to guess how many are in the cup. So you've probably seen this before. I have it over here. I already prepped all the cups and all the bags that we will need. So after, let me see. So I have these little whiteboard 10 frames, and then again I have all of these cups ready to go. So I'm gonna have students be sitting in a circle. So after we've already practiced making a few numbers here, then we will have students with their little cups. We'll make them count it out, make sure there's 10 at first, and then they have to go ahead, the other person covers their eyes, and they cover some up. Now, when I model this, I'm gonna have students actually put the remaining ones in a 10 frame. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then they're gonna figure out how many are missing. And then they can check to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they can fill it in to see that they have the amount. So I'm gonna have them practice that over and over with a partner. And again, I'll probably have them spread out a little bit, so they're not just sitting here on the rug the whole time, so they can go off and play this for just a few minutes. Then I'll have students come back to the rug, and I'm gonna show that each of the numbers that we are gonna learn from 1 through 10 have a numeral, have a number word. We can show it on a 10 frame, and then we can also show it with objects. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So each one we can show in different ways. That's just our explicit learning. Then I'm going to pass out their little 10 frame whiteboard again, and I'm gonna show a number. So they have their cup already with their cubes. I'm just gonna show a number up here, and they have to quickly build it. 5, 6, 3, 4, 8, 1, 10. And then also I want to see, I'm gonna look for a couple, like if we went from 3 to 4, I'm gonna say, wait, I noticed you didn't take off any cubes. Some friends will probably just add one. I'm gonna say, oh, we know that 4 comes after 3, so I just have to add one more. Just a little bit of kind of talking through that. Then I'll collect everything, and all together, we're gonna try to solve these. So color in the strawberries to show 7. I'll have a friend come up to the board, color in just 7 of them. I'll have them count the items and then write the number. And then they can use their cubes to show this story. There are 3 apples on a plate. Austin ate one, then Pedro ate one, then Layla ate one. So how many are left? So we can kind of practice that counting back. And then this is what I made the bags for. So these bags over here, some of them have 10 cubes, some of them have 9 cubes, some of them have 8 cubes. I'm just going to have students sit here in a circle, and with their partner, they are going to guess how many are in the bag. And then they're gonna practice dumping it out, and they're gonna count. This one is already stacked, but they should be broken up. But let's pretend they dumped it all out. And they're gonna figure out how many in the bag, and then they're gonna count forwards and backwards. So I want them to count together, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I want them to count it down. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So they're gonna count it both ways. We're just gonna do this quickly, and then I'm gonna have them put it back in the bag. and then they're going to pass it along the circle. So they're going to practice counting forward and counting backwards, just a little one-to-one correspondence. After that last hands-on activity, I have this little sheet here. This is obviously with the rest of my unit, but they're just going to color in the correct amount of berries up at the top, so 6, 3, and 9. And then down here, they're going to count up the number of objects and draw a line to the number that matches. And then when they're done, they can go over to ST Math, which they learned last week. So this is just our intro into those numbers 1 through 10. You can see they're already practicing a lot of kind of hands-on counting. We are counting those numbers within 10 frames so we can see what that looks like. I'm introducing the number word, but we're gonna go over that again tomorrow. Also tomorrow, after we do that, I'm gonna hang up my number posters. So probably when I check in later this week, you'll see my number posters up there. In the number poster, here's what they look like. They're free, I'll link them down below. But my number posters, they have the numeral, they have the number word, and then they also have it in the 10 frame, just like I was showing them in today's lesson. And then not only are they doing that, but they got the bags, they get to practice counting forwards, they get to practice counting backwards, they get to see 10 items and only pick out 6 or only pick out 3, only pick out 9. So a lot of good intro into our numbers to 10, and this is going to build the foundation for everything we do. I mentioned this last year, but the way our math curriculum works, and I kind of really like this, is we do number sense within 10. So again, identifying the numbers, counting the numbers, all of that. And then we will do adding and subtracting within 10. Then we will go to numbers within 20. So we're talking about those teen numbers. We're building up, tens and ones after. And then we do adding and subtracting within 20. Then I think we do a couple of like graphing, measurement. We do some other little units, shapes, I think is actually the first one. And then we'll do numbers to 40, adding and subtracting within 40, and then to 120. So it kind of slowly builds it up, and each time you're building that knowledge a little bit more, which is really great. So I think that'll be fun for our math. For phonics and everything, I'm just kind of walking through the slides. I'm gonna get a few things done, and then I might pop in later today, or I might pop in tomorrow and kind of just go over what phonics looks like. For math, like I said, this was just day 1. I believe this unit has 6 or 7 days worth of lessons. I think it has 6 full days of lessons, just like we did today. We're also gonna be comparing numbers later in the week. And then on day 7, I always do a review day. So that will be till next week. So I'll share that next week when we get there, what our first review day looks like. And then we'll give our first little assessment. So we always have our main lessons, and then a review, and then assess. And then we'll go on to the next unit. But yeah, I'll pop in a little bit later to share phonics and writing. Happy Wednesday. It has been a busy week. All of the kind of committees and everything that I'm on have started this week, so I've had lots of meetings after school. This year I am on the Literacy Leadership Committee, which is kind of it's not an extension. It was already running concurrently last year with the Literacy Pilot. But since the Literacy Pilot is over, I decided to join the Literacy Curriculum team so we can come up with like our vision and also see how the implementation of HMH is going and how it aligns with our vision and what we can change, which obviously is stuff I'm very interested in. So we had that meeting last night. I am also mentoring one of the new teachers that we hired here in first grade. So every Wednesday I meet with her and we just kind of discuss all sorts of things related to the school and teaching and all of that, which I love. So that's fun. And then also I am still on the TAT team. I talked about TAT a little bit last year. TAT just stands for Teachers Assisting Teachers, and it is our way of meeting. We meet every single Thursday morning and we discuss different students around the school building who might need extra support academically, behaviorally, social, emotionally, all sorts of different ways. And if a student comes to TAT, then the teacher is often looking for resources, support, strategies to kind of help that student. And then if they're not making progress, this would kind of be the process that they go through before they would be referred to the child study team and potentially put on an IEP or something, or at least go through the evaluation process. So that's just kind of how that works here at our school. So those are the 3 big things that I am doing this year for the school, and all of them, have meetings. Well, TAT and my mentor meetings are every week on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and then literacy is about every other week, I think. looking at my calendar, but roughly every other week, maybe once a month. I'm not really sure, but we just had that first one last night as we talked about implementing HMH. So I think when I popped in on Monday, I shared what we were doing in math. We are working on counting numbers, comparing numbers. I think I shared with you that I have all of the slides that I use, boom, right here for that whole unit. So that can be linked down below. And then I want to talk a little bit about what we are up to in phonics, what I have us doing for WIN this week. And yeah, let's kind of dive into that. And then a little bit about writing. Writing is rough. Okay, so last night at the meeting, we kind of kick off by just each grade level has like representation across the different school districts, and we just kind of share what are our challenges so far with the new curriculum and what are some questions we might have so we can kind of work through it. And it is, we've only done it for like 2 days before we had this meeting. I, of course, piloted it last year, so it was a lot of the challenges that my team are having. I'm like, don't worry, it'll get better, which is nice for me to be able to say that and share that with them. But a lot of the challenge at first with HMH is just the timing of it all, because it's a ton of different pieces. The foundational block is very long, and kind of just breaking it up for students. So I was going to walk you through what a morning kind of looks like. A lot of it is, good best practice, but it's just a long time. So I want to share how I break it up a little bit, how I have students moving and going kind of back and forth, and also just give you a look of what it looks like if you are not used to using this curriculum. If you knew last year and the year before, we used foundations and actually spent like a full year making all these foundations aligned slides to go along with the curriculum and also support it, which was wonderful, but now we aren't using them. But if you use foundations, I will link those down below. But let me show you these. These slides actually come with the program, which was nice. I didn't have to create them. So at the very beginning, I have students sitting on the rug, and we kind of start with our phonological awareness, which just comes right from the book, and they're just doing some very basic activities. Yesterday, we talked about rhyming, and we also blended onset and rhyme, and they just do like 4 or 5 of each. As this goes on throughout the year, they'll be doing much more phoneme blending and phoneme segmentation with the sounds that we're learning. So I do like that it's connected. Then we do a 3-part drill, which I love. So students will see the letters and they'll just say the sound, s, t, b, as fast as they can. Then we have the auditory review, which I'm gonna flip the camera and show you. For the auditory review, they are using their ears, auditory, and I am simply saying a sound and they have to make it. Now, you can do this with paper and pencil, you can do this all sorts of different ways, but I try to keep it quick and I try to keep it tactile. So on Fridays, we'll make it fun and we will use sand and it'll take a little bit longer, but most days I'm either having them skywrite it, I'm having them write it on the rug. Yesterday, we pretended that our hand was a piece of paper and that our finger was a pencil so we could trace it. And this time I'm just saying, spell spell s, spell t. And I'm just watching them form it, and they were like, ooh, this tickles, it feels nice. So it's a little bit of sensory tactileness going on. And then also I'm just watching them make the letter and seeing if they're forming it correctly. And just to emphasize, there's only a few letters here at the beginning. As we continue to learn more sounds, students will add more sounds to this review and we'll move faster and faster and faster. Then today we're going to actually learn a new skill. The last skill we focused on was a apple a. Today we're going to talk about I, itch, I. And I'll show them the hand signal, which we're going to be itching our arm. We're going to say I. And then I'm also going to show them the mouth and what their mouth should look like while they make it. And I check every single student as they say I and see if they're kind of matching the mouth. After we learn that sound, this is when we go into our blending. So every single day we are blending. It, b, it, bit, so on and so forth. Sit, Tim, bib, and on. So at this point, they have done all of this on the rug and they have not moved. So at the handwriting portion, I actually have them get up from the rug and they go to their seats and take out their whiteboards and markers, which makes the most sense here. And again, it gets them up and moving. So for handwriting, these are the same letters we've gone over, but I will show them explicitly how to make it. I'll ask them to make about 5 or 10 of them on their whiteboards, and then they will circle the one that's the best. And I always call up a friend. I always make one here and explain it. And then I call up a friend to also make one on the board. So we have M, S, T, B, A, and I. I also want to point out that we actually still use the whiteboards from Foundations. I think I shared this before because I like that it has the skyline plain line, grass line, worm line as great visuals. This does not. And the T, it has them like start for the lowercase t in the middle. And I'm like, nope, we start at the skyline. And I'll say, sometimes you'll see it in different ways, which is kind of good to bring up. But I'm like, when we're making it, you're gonna start at the skyline, go down to the grass line, cross at the plain line. So I still use that same language from Foundations and from other programs, just because again, it is good practice to give them a visual anyways. Then every single day, my students are doing word building, which is also something I liked about this program. So with our word building, I'm having them use the new magnet boards that we have. I'll insert a little picture of us doing this earlier. And then I also will have them sometimes just keep out their whiteboard and marker, and they'll just write the word, which is what we did yesterday. So I don't care how they're doing it, as long as they are tapping the sounds and actually building it, and then they check it with me on the board. After we've done our handwriting and our word building back at our seats, then we go over to the rug. So we come back to the rug and we kind of finish up with our heart words, so any high frequency words that we're learning, and also our decodable text that we kind of read together on the board. So let me show you that. So they come right back to the rug, and then we will do heart words. This week we're learning was, of, and you. So we talk about the heart parts of them, what the temporary heart parts mean, what the regular sounds mean, and so on. And then we dive into some text. So was Tim at bat? I have a bit of it. And I usually just have students try to read this in their head first, and then we try to read it together. We kind of echo read it, we choral read it. I have them practice reading it. Just a couple different sentences. Now, come and I think have, yes, come and have are words that we have not learned yet. So I will just give them those words today, and then have them try to sound out the rest of them. Because as you can see, the rest of the words are words that have the sounds we've been practicing. So they should be able to try to blend it together. And then we're done. And at the end of this whole long process, takes about 40-50 minutes, I go make sure that we do a quick little Danny go so they can stand up and spread around and move their bodies. So that's what we do right after morning meeting every single day. And again, that process is the same every single day throughout the year, just different letters, different skills are being introduced. I do have on the back wall, I'll show you in a minute, we put up the sound card A for apple, and then I also add I today. So our sound wall is already starting to be built. You can kind of see the number posters are up there because we introduced those numbers 1 through 10. So those are up there. We're beginning to add things to our focus wall, so students can refer back to them as we move along throughout the year. So it'll be nice. I always love when the wall is like so empty, you can see the little A. And then at the end of the year, it's filled with all these sounds that I can show them, look how much you've learned. So that's always fun. After this, we always go into reading. So I'll show you a little bit about reading looks like in this program. Lots of great vocabulary routines and new vocabulary words. And then I also like that we are always responding to reading through writing. So that's something I do enjoy. So let me show you that. Hello, happy Thursday. We were finishing up talking the other day about phonics. So today I just wanted to share a couple of fun things that we are doing for reading and writing. I did mention, I think, about our sound wall, so I wanted to show you that. Let me show you. Really not too much to show here, but really we have our short vowels. Some teachers already have all the headings for like the different types of sounds we're going to learn. I just put them up as we learn them. And then we have a and I. These are the only two we've learned so far. And then since we did go over the numbers 1 through 10 and we talked about the number word and what they look like, I also went ahead and put the number posters up for reference too. If you watched my videos last year, you'll know that I made all of these cards to align with Foundations, but I also this year went ahead and made them to align with HMH. So I do have both. I will link them down below in case you use either of them. And if you don't use either of those programs, you can use them however you want. You can just pick which keyword you like best. Also this morning, I purchased another little stool. I have these ones from Lakeshore, but I do have a student who is a bit shorter. So we needed, you can see the height difference here is about two inches or so. So this one actually works great for him. I didn't want to, make him feel left out at all. So I went ahead and purchased a very similar type stool. This one is on Amazon and it's actually adjustable. So it has an adjustable base on there that I can make it taller if needed. And this is as short as it goes. I think it's 12 inches. And with this one, my student can put their feet flat down, which is great as they work at the back table. Also, I wore this exact outfit last week. It's this like pretty pink magenta dress from Loft. And then I got this colorless Loft jacket. I think it's very cute. And when I wore it last week, one of my teammates was like, I have the exact same dress and I have a jean jacket. So we thought we would twin today, and we ended up wearing the same thing. We made this little reel over on Instagram and TikTok, which I think is cute and fun. And it's just something fun to do with our team. So go check that out over there. Before I do dive into reading, I also want to share that tickets just went live for the Educator Summit. I am presenting at this virtual conference again this winter, so it'll be in January, and it's a completely virtual conference, so you don't have to go anywhere. I presented for it in the past. I really love this conference, and my session this year is going to be on small group instruction and some easy to implement tips and everything. So I will link that down below. If you use the code Susan, you'll get a discount. So make sure you grab your tickets. The earlier you grab them, the cheaper they're going to be. As it gets closer, the price kind of goes up. So I will link all the information for that and all the great keynotes and all the other great sessions down below. There is a certificate of completion at the end, so you can put in for PD hours, however that works in your district. So all that will be linked down below. All right, so let's talk about reading for this week. I mentioned yesterday how I love that they are doing response to reading through writing pretty much at least a few times a week, which I love. And we actually just did our first one today. So before we dive into each book, we always have kind of our topic, our skill we're going to talk about, and these spiral throughout the year. This is very like reader's workshop-y based, which I do not love. However, the vocabulary instruction is great, and then the spiraling of everything is great. This is the part that I just don't love, teaching, basically teaching these skills like in isolation for each text. But that is how this program does it. So today we were talking about what author's purpose is. We kind of just go over this anchor chart, which will be used over and over again throughout the year. And then we're reading this story called Try This. Now I'll show you after this, but everybody has this in their My Book. It's like their Basil that they also have. And yesterday we already read it for the first time and introduced all of the vocabulary, which I can show you. So today we're just gonna sit on the rug and they're just gonna listen to me read it, so they can, practice their language comprehension and they're not flipping their books. So they're gonna listen to me read this whole thing. It's just about a boy at school trying new things. And then this is our first response to the text through writing. So they are going to look back in the text and we're gonna find a picture of something Sam tries to do. We'll sketch it here and then they'll write a sentence. Sam can blank. So the first couple days I'm always modeling everything. Well, actually I'm always modeling, but the first couple days and weeks and probably months in first grade, they can go back to their desk, and when they do this, I don't care if they copy my sentence. They can completely copy it on their own for now until we get into this rhythm and until we learn more spelling patterns where they can spell kind of on their own. So we might say Sam tries to play baseball, and then we'll say Sam can hit the ball. And then again, they'll go back to their desk and they can try writing it. Like I said, I don't really care at all if they are copying me for now. What I want students to do these first few weeks as we practice this is kind of get into the rhythm of, hey, we read a story. I asked you a question about the story and I want you to write your answer, but I need you to go back into the text to find something. So I explained to them that we need to write something Sam tries in the story. We're not making it up. It has to be somewhere in there. So let's flip through the pages. Let's find a few things he can do, and then we will write our sentence. And for now, we're focusing on capital letters at the beginning and periods at the end. For the vocabulary, these are the 6 words that were featured in the text. So we actually reviewed them before we read it today. And yesterday we introduced each one. So we kind of clap the words, see how many syllables, we give a definition, and then we use it in a sentence. So try, new, great, enjoy, excited, and nervous. And these go along with our main vocabulary words for the whole unit, which are friendship, emotions, and challenge. So these 3 big words are the words for 3 full weeks. These are like our big overarching words that we want to define and use. And then every time we get a new story, we introduce some new vocabulary. Some of it's going to be tier 1, tier 2. There's just a lot of new words we kind of introduce. And since it was the second day with this vocabulary, now we're asking questions. Can they actually understand the words that I'm asking? So we're having like a little vocabulary chat. So would you be excited or nervous if you saw a snake in the woods? Both excited and nervous were vocabulary words. What new food would you like to try? New and try were vocabulary words. So you can see that they are just practicing using it. through just speaking with one another. Now, one of the things about this program is it has a lot of stuff. So for better or worse, it does have a lot of things. So let me pull out, I'm just gonna grab some of the stuff that we use for this program so I can show you. First is their My Book. This is what I told you. It's their, the book with all the text that I have up on the board. So when we do this together on the board, they can also do it in their books. So we read this aloud. This is the story that I just showed you. Try this. And then at the end of this is where they went to do that writing. So here, Sam can hit the ball. Hit the ball. That's what she was trying to write. Sam can hit the ball, and here's the little sketch of it. So the My Book, which is this one right here, is going to cover modules 1 and 2, and it has all of the stories and all the questions and all the writing responses here with them. And then at the end of each of these modules, so at the end of every 2, they'll take this home and get a new one. Now, another book they have is called their Know It, Show It book, and this is more on the like grammar and phonics practice. There is some vocabulary practice in here too. And you don't need to use all these pages. A lot of them are optional. Here's like some heart words. The writing is actually even included in here. So we've been talking about nouns. So they did brainstorm a person, an animal, a place, and a thing. So we have a cushion, a pool, a fish, and this is, I think, one of her friends. Oh, this was Daisy from the story. Daisy from the story that we read. So again, talking about nouns. You can see we have short I. This would be some extra practice because that's what we're learning right now. So there's also this book. I did not use it a ton last year, so I'll be interested to see if I use it more. I do like the decodables that are in here, and I like that they have you draw a picture of what it said. So we'll definitely probably be using those. And lastly, you also definitely need some type of journal for this program, because not only are you writing sometimes in response to reading like I showed you today, but sometimes it's not going to be in your My Book. So you'll read a different book, like we read Rocking in My School Shoes with Pete the Cat. And they had to, after we read it, they had to go ahead and write a sentence. I'm blank in my school shoes. I don't exactly remember what she wrote. Jumping maybe? Looks like maybe she's jumping rope. In my school shoes. They had to just fill it in and draw a picture to match. So this is another way they respond to text, and throughout the year, they will continue to respond and then draw a picture. And this kind of lets you see, it's like a nice little portfolio by the end of the year, how much their writing has grown, which is great. So it can be quite a bit to manage. Like for example, today I was like, okay, take out your My Book. We're going to open up to whatever page so we can do our writing. And you know, the 2 green books look very similar. So we have a playground book, we call it, and the whale book. So we're just looking at the image on the front. And then you need the journal for the other thing. So some pieces to manage, but other than that, it's pretty good. And like I said, I don't mind at all that I don't have to print out a bunch of pages. Everything is just like open up to page 10 in this book. So as long as you have the right book out, you should be good to go. The only other thing we really started this week as we kind of dove into our first week of curriculum is writing. Now writing, I've said this before, but our writing kind of got split up this year. We used to have a solid 30 to 35 minutes. Now we have 30 minutes, but 10 minutes of it is for grammar specifically, and it is even separated. It's in the morning before snack. And then 20 minutes is for writing, which is a very short time for any sort of genre-based writing, which is quite a bummer. So I don't like that. I also do not like the writing lessons that come with this program. They are so vague and loose, and this program does have a lot that is now aligned to the science of reading. The vocabulary is great. The response to reading is great. The phonics portion is pretty good for structured literacy. Is it perfect? No, but it's pretty good and has made like leaps and bounds towards structured instruction and aligning with the science of reading. But the writing is so far off from that it makes my head hurt. There's like 0 explicit instruction whatsoever. It is so writing workshop based. And I've always loved the writing workshop approach, working through the writing process and even the structure of the lessons, but always with explicit modeling and instruction. That's always how I've taught, especially in first grade. So we are supposed to be aligning as closely as we can to the lessons this year so we can figure out where we need to scaffold, which is going to be interesting. Sorry, my lips are chapped. So all that to say, we are on day 4 of this week. It's Thursday, and all we've really done in writing is we read Ralph Tells a Story, which is a great book. I love that about showing everybody has, ideas, and it's a good kind of brainstorming lesson. But now, like 4 days in, all we've done is talk about the book, look at the book. We read the book twice, In one lesson, we were supposed to like brainstorm words from the book that you might want to use in a story, which is such a random lesson. Like instead, I'd rather make like, the little heart chart and we can talk about different things we can write about. I did have them extend a lesson one time and just draw a quick picture of a small moment that happened to them, just to kind of get us doing something, because it looks like for the rest of the lessons, we are now just sharing oral stories, which again, sharing an oral story is great, but like when we share an oral story, I want them to know what a sentence is. Like, what does a complete sentence sound like? Let me teach it to you. Now let's practice that. I would just want you to get up and tell a story, and we're just going to practice listening. And then I want you to get up the next day and tell any sort of story, and you are just going to practice speaking. So there needs to be more explicit instruction, and there needs to be more syntax knowledge and structure and yada, yada, yada. So not thrilled. I think what I'm going to do is I think next week I'll kind of do a deeper dive into, I'll show you what we've done after 5-6 days of writing, and then I'll show you, because I'll have a clearer picture of how I'm going to bridge that gap and what we might do to supplement, because I am 90% sure we're already going to supplement with some of my beginning of the year writing slides. We did a couple with illustrations last week, but these kids need to know like what a sentence is, what it sounds like, naming part, telling part, all that. The grammar I don't mind. I mean, we're just introducing nouns, but it looks like for 15 days we pretty much just talk about nouns. So it feels like that's a waste of those 10 minutes every day, and I wish we had that time with writing. And I wish that time with writing was more structured. So that's where we are. All right, all that being said, next week on Monday, we're celebrating Dot Day, which is going to be fun. I always make these cute little handprint dot trees, which I just love. So we'll still do phonics and math as regular next week, but then the rest of the afternoon, we're going to skip writing, skip science and social studies, and we're going to just celebrate Dot Day and do some fun, cute things and decorate the classroom, because we're a K-2 school, and that is a fun little thing for us to do. All right, if you have any questions about this video, please let me know down in the comments. As always, I do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up so I know. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel and click that bell. That way you're notified of every new video. See you in the next one. Bye.